Welcome home to Holly Apartments. This apartment-style hall gives you the freedom of living in your own space with a few close friends, plus the convenience of being right here on campus. Holly Apartments are spread across several buildings. Units in Holly Apartments are mainly made up of 4-person apartments with single rooms. There are a limited number of 2-person apartments available. 2 private bathrooms are in every 4-bedroom apartment, providing easy access for everyone. 2-person apartments have 1 bathroom. Sinks are located just outside the bathroom for added convenience. Each room comes furnished with a bed, desk, chair, and a dresser. Each resident also has a built-in closet space. Bedrooms in Holly Apartments are singles, meaning you have the entire room to yourself. Every apartment unit contains a fully furnished living area and a full kitchen with a refrigerator, oven, stovetop, and sink. If you're looking for a restaurant-style meal, Argo's Exchange is just down the road. Here, you can use a meal swipe to get an entree and a fountain drink from different rotating restaurant options. Or try the Bulls Express convenience store if you want to grab something quick on the go. If you want a more customizable meal, the Hub is just a short walk away. At this dining hall, there's a wide variety of options that change daily, from a burger and fries to vegetarian stir fry. When it's time to do your laundry, just bring quarters or use your USF ID to pay with Bullbucks at one of the 2 facilities located right outside. If you have any issues with your key or card, you can visit the service desk over in Holly M. You'll also find a printer here that all students can access. Looking to get some exercise in? Grab your sunscreen and take a walk or jog around our beautiful campus. To learn more about our housing options, visit usf.edu/housing and get ready to live the Bulls life.
Coming to you from the beautiful University of South Florida campus in Tampa, it's USF Housing Live!
Welcome everyone. This is USF Housing Live. I'm your host, Julia O'Hara with Housing and Residential Education at the beautiful University of South Florida in Tampa. Housing and Residential Education is here to answer your questions as you prepare for college. If you're joining us live, type your questions in the comments and we will answer you in real time. In tonight's episode, we'll be speaking with team members from Career Services and Financial Aid. But before we get started, we have a few announcements to share with you. Fall 2021 move-in information is now live on our website. Visit usf.edu/housing to review all of the opening information and sign up for your move-in time slot. And the Bull Hall Welcome Wagon registration form is live. The Bull Hall Welcome Wagon is USF grand opening move-in experience where individuals volunteer to assist in the grand opening process and welcome students to campus. We will only be accepting 120 volunteers for this initiative, so if you want to participate, register now on our website. And now let's welcome our first guest this evening, the Internship Specialist for Career Services, Samantha Zavatsky. Welcome, Samantha. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. We have some questions ready for you about your position at Career Services and the services offered if you're ready to jump in.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So let's start by talking a little bit about what you do at USF Career Services.
Yeah, so my title is technically Internship Specialist, but I do a lot of everything. So my main job in Career Services is to work with employers to establish internship programs and or to help them recruit for their interns from USF, as well as working with student employment on our campus, everything from federal work study through to professional development for our students.
Awesome. And in general, how does Career Services support incoming students? Because a lot of our viewers are those coming in for the fall semester or maybe here for the summer for the first time at USF.
Yeah, absolutely. So Career Services provides incoming students with services and resources designed to help them in locating part-time jobs, on-campus job internships, co-ops, if they qualify for co-ops, as well as full-time employment. We do things like resume reviews, cover letter help, interview practice, professional clothing rentals through Rentable. We also do job search support. This fall, we'll have a full calendar of different workshops and programs that students can choose from to help them explore, discover, and choose a career.
Awesome. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Just because we are transitioning to a lot of in-person events now that we're moving into the fall semester and pre-COVID operations. So what type of events and opportunities that you just mentioned will be upcoming in the fall? Do you have a calendar that people can go and look at online for those events?
Yeah, so we will. We are still in the planning process right now to get those finalized, but that calendar of events will be out right around the time school starts. But we have our career fairs that I believe are going back to in person as of this fall. We also have different workshops and orientations available that will probably be available both online and in person if I'm going to guess correctly there. And then we have different drop-in opportunities for employers to meet with our students, which will probably be back to face-to-face operations.
Great. So let's move on to federal work study. So can you tell me a little bit about what that is and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So Federal Work Study is an award that is a financial-based award based on your FAFSA. It's literally just a funding type for jobs that you have to qualify for, again, that financial need, but it's literally just a funding source.
And so does your office connect students that do qualify for the Federal Work Study to those opportunities on campus? Is that something that Career Services connects students with?
Yeah, so we can definitely help you with that. All of those opportunities are going to be found on Careers at USF, which is the main USF webpage for all USF jobs. And then they're also available on Handshake, which is the career management platform that is free for students. Once you become a USF student, you have access to that. It can be found by going to My USF under My Resources, and then it should be Find a Job. You just want to make sure that you go in and complete your Handshake profile completely. That way you can upload your resume and things like that. It's kind of like a LinkedIn if you have a LinkedIn. But those are going to be the two best places to find those kinds of jobs, and we're absolutely here to help.
Cool. And so someone who may not qualify for the Federal Work Study opportunity, what type of part-time employment opportunities are available for those students?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's still a number of different job opportunities available on our campus, whether it's with a company like Aramark or the bookstore. A lot of departments are still hiring for general student employment positions. Again, all of those can be found on Careers at USF or on Handshake. That's where all of those recruitment opportunities are going to be posted.
And what can you tell us about cooperative education?
Yeah, so cooperative education is typically referred to as co-op. So it's a type of experiential learning opportunity, kind of like an internship. It's usually a little bit longer than an internship and more hands-on. It does have to coincide with your program or your major. For co-op, they're usually part-time or full-time opportunities, and they're available in academic programs, usually like engineering or accounting.
Great. And for paid internships, can you tell me a little bit about the difference between an internship and then the co-op, and if it's the same process for finding both through that Handshake portal?
Yeah, so I'll start with defining them. Yes, they're both going to go through Handshake. You can actually search by a multitude of different options in Handshake for whether it's paid, unpaid, part-time, full-time. Literally, you can get down to very specific needs for what you're looking for. Internships usually will last about one semester, so usually that 8 to 12 week time frame, where co-ops are usually going to be multiple semesters. So they might run parallel to your academic program. If you're a part-time student and doing your co-op, you might be doing those at the same time. Some students for co-ops will have a semester of school, they do a semester of co-op, and they kind of go back and forth depending on their major. And we also have our career fairs that I mentioned earlier, where students can come and there will be recruiters that are looking for both co-op and internship opportunities during that time.
And
yeah.
Samantha, out of curiosity, is it possible to receive credit in a co-op and in an internship, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So for credit, it's usually determined by the school, not by the employer. So a lot of times in some of these job postings, they'll post like for academic credit. And just one thing to keep in mind is that it's up to your individual program on whether that opportunity qualifies for academic credit. They have some certain criteria that they do have to meet, but paid, unpaid internships you can get credit for, as well as co-op opportunities. All of those right now are currently ran through Career Services for those courses.
Great. And we have a question from the audience. Jeremy, thanks for joining us and thanks for your question. Jeremy's asking, for students that want a part-time job on campus for the fall, when should they apply?
Yeah, so we do have departments posting as soon as now for some of those jobs. I know I work really closely with Aramark, for example, who not only just does food service stuff on campus, they also have some back office positions available that you might not be thinking that with Aramark, but I know that they've been hiring a lot lately. The bookstore will probably be doing a lot of their recruiting typically between now and by the time school starts. So definitely get on to Careers at USF and start looking. And I would definitely fill out your Handshake profile sooner than later. So that way you can get some of those positions on there now.
Awesome. So if someone's starting in the fall, a student that's coming in for the fall and maybe not here for the summer yet, it is possible for them to start applying for those positions and maybe even doing some virtual interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually the interview process, and from the time that you apply for a job to the time that you might actually start, is typically about a month. I would say give or take, just by the time their applicant pool closes, they go through resumes, they're picking who they want to do interviews for, they go through all those interviews. Typically it'll take about 3 weeks to a month. So definitely start applying now if it's something that you see that you like. Doesn't hurt in doing that. And yes, a lot of them will do virtual interviews or have been doing virtual interviews due to the pandemic.
Awesome. So definitely start looking now if that's something you're interested in. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So my last question for you, Samantha, is where is Career Services located and how can viewers contact your office?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in the Student Services building. So same places like financial aid, the registrar, on the second floor of that building, in the elevator lobby, directly across from the counseling center. It's SVC 2088. We also have Suitable right next to us as well, which is a free resource for students if you need to rent professional attire. All of our services that we offer are free. Suitable is also free. So you're able to rent like a suit or dress attire. We have fitting rooms for you to try stuff on. We do get it dry cleaned once it's returned, so everything is fresh and ready to go. But yeah, anytime you want to stop on in, feel free. We can be reached at careerservices@usf.edu. Or I'll say if you go to the main USF page and just type Career Services in that search bar up top, it should pull up our main page with access to get a hold of us there as well.
Great. So your phone number and email will be listed there. And you are open
Absolutely.
For walk-in hours now from 8 to 5. Is that correct?
I don't believe we're still doing in person quite yet until a little bit closer to the fall starting. But we still are taking appointments virtually. So you're able to talk to a career consultant if you need to, or we're able to help you start getting still the same resources just virtually for now. But we will be back in the office as of August.
Wonderful. Well, Samantha, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and all of that great information. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's definitely my pleasure.
All right. Have a great night, Samantha. Thank you.
You too.
And it's time for us to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more USF Housing Live right after this.
Welcome home to Endeavor Hall. Endeavor Hall is located in North Campus in the Village, our newest residential community. This residence hall offers mostly double rooms with both traditional style and suite style options. A limited number of single rooms are also available. Residents living in a traditional style room will share a room with their roommate and a bathroom with their floor mates. Many community bathrooms are available on each floor for residents living in traditional style rooms. Bathrooms are cleaned daily and offer spa-style sliding doors for privacy. Residents living in a suite-style room will share a room and a private bathroom with their roommate. Suite-style bathrooms are cleaned weekly with a sink that is located outside the bathroom for added convenience. Every room already comes furnished with a bed, desk, chair, and dresser. A large window in each room lets you enjoy plenty of natural light. There are kitchen areas on each floor with a microwave and sink for convenient cooking and cleanup. Each building in the village has a unique ground floor lobby with common areas and a full kitchen that includes a stainless steel fridge, oven, stovetop, and sink. Need groceries? Head to the on-campus Publix, only a short walk away. When you don't feel like cooking, the Hub is right outside your door. At this dining hall, there are a wide variety of options that change daily, from burger and fries to vegetarian stir-fry. You can also visit the nearby housing service desk at Holly M, where you can go if you have any issues with your keys. You'll also find a printer here that all students can access. Grab a coffee between classes from the Starbucks right next door. You can order ahead to skip the line or visit the walk-up window for speedy service. You'll find a wellness and recreation center at the Fit, where you can also lounge and enjoy our beautiful Florida weather in a zero-entry resort-style pool. When it's time to do your laundry, you can visit the laundry room on the first floor. Use quarters or swipe with your USF ID to pay with Bullbucks. It's up to you. To learn more about our housing options, visit usf.edu/housing. Get ready to live the Bulls life.
Welcome back. I'm Julia O'Hara, and if you're just now joining us, this is USF Housing Live, and we're here to help you prepare to live the Bulls life at USF. So ask us your questions in the comments, and we will answer you live on the show. Our second guest this evening is the Program Director for the Office of Financial Aid, Damian Levitt. Hi, Damian. How are you this evening?
I'm fine, Julia. Nice to be here.
Nice to see you again. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. We have some questions for you related to financial aid and the services that you all provide here on campus, if you're ready to jump in.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. Okay, so the first question I have for you, Damian, is what is the best way to get personalized assistance regarding a student's financial aid?
Yes, so we have a couple of different ways that you can receive personalized assistance with financial aid. So the first thing that you can do is to contact our office by coming in person to our location in the Student Services Building here in Tampa. You can also visit the offices on the St. Petersburg and Sarasota Manatee campuses as well. They are staffed with staff to help you there. And you can also give us a call on our phone lines at 813-974-4700. Or you can log into our website and use the ServiceNow portal, which is secure, that you can email your financial aid advisor and ask them questions specifically. And we have that information on the Contact Us page on our website.
And so, Damian, just to confirm, your office here on the Tampa campus is doing walk-in right now in the Student Services Building, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Are you able to come in and meet with someone in person?
Yes, so the way that we are currently set up, because we're still kind of observing COVID protocols, is if students want to come into the office, we have individuals at our front desk to answer questions. Depending on the hour of the day, it may be a financial aid advisor or a financial aid assistant or one of the supervisors. But if a student wants to have an appointment with their financial aid advisor, those are still being conducted virtually. Which will be happening via our online process. So you can call in or come into the office and we'll be able to assist you with that either way.
Great. So getting into some more specific questions, when is the bill for the fall semester due?
Yeah, so that's the big question. So the bill for the fall semester for tuition is due at the end of the drop-out period. So that's always the 5th day of classes. One thing to note here is that there are a couple different offices that are responsible for this. So my office, the Office of Financial Aid, is responsible for awarding students financial aid and releasing that money toward your USF bill. Once we do that, then that is then taken over by the Student Financial Services Office here in SVC as well. And they are responsible for taking those funds and applying it to your USF bill. So tuition and fees due at the end of drop ad. So for this fall semester, that's going to be August the 27th. And once tuition and fees have been assessed for the fall, it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks. But pay attention to your USF email, and the tuition assessment and all of the information corresponding will be sent to you that way.
Great. And when do students find out if they are awarded financial aid?
Yes, so this also has been an ongoing process for students receiving financial aid award offers. For new first-time in college students, the financial aid award offers have been going out since December of 2020. Any new transfer or graduate students have been receiving their offers since April of this year, and all returning students have been receiving their aid offers since June. So for the last about a month or so. So all of those award offers are sent to the student's USF email. And if students are dependent students for financial aid purposes, then we also will send a little reminder to the parent that's listed on the FAFSA to let them know that the student has received a financial aid offer, and they can also log into OASIS to view their financial aid awards.
And Damien, now that you bring that up, I'm going to jump to the question related to family member access. So is there an account through which family members can access financial information related to scholarships awarding or Florida Prepaid or Bright Futures?
So here at USF, there is not an account designated for family members. So some schools do have that, but we do not have that here as an option at USF. Basically, all financial aid information is protected by federal privacy laws. And you should be learning a little bit more about this as well. It's called the Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act, or FERPA. And for financial aid, there's another version of this that also extends and protects financial aid information based on the FAFSA. So basically, we can only release that information to the parents that is listed on the FAFSA. And in order for that to happen and receive that information, you must contact our office and ask us to post a privacy release for dependent students on your OASIS account. And then you would log into your OASIS account, complete the form. On the form, there is a space for you to designate those individuals that are listed on your FAFSA as your parents. And once you do that, you will also include their date of birth and the last four digits of their social security number, in addition to a passphrase. So the passphrase is very important that you share that with your parents so that they can contact our office, and we will ask them some identifying information to make sure they are who they say they are, including that passphrase, before we will release information to them. That information is going to be limited. And once we do that, we will ask that information each time a contact is made to our office. So we really have to protect your information. So I hope that you will understand that and make sure that you are adhering to that. But outside of that, there is not a specific portal. But within the institution, grades are also protected by the FERPA laws, which there's also an additional student records authorization form that is available through the Office of the Registrar that you can complete to be able to provide your parents or your family with access to your other educational records.
Got it. And as far as financial aid being applied, does that happen before the tuition deadline?
Great question. So financial aid is released after the end of drop ad every semester. So in every instance, there will not be a payment applied to the student's bill until we are able to confirm that the student is in the classes that they registered for. So once the end of drop ad occurs, then we release all of the financial aid and send it over to Student Financial Services on the 7th day of the term. So for the fall semester, that 7th day is going to be August the 29th, which is Sunday. That's when we will release the financial aid funds, and that includes any grants, loans, scholarships, and that includes Florida Bright Future scholarships. All of those will be released and applied to your USF bill. For those students that have Florida prepaid, that is handled by the Student Financial Services Office, and the Florida prepaid funds are not released until about 4 weeks into the term. So that is extremely important. So if you have enough financial aid to cover your entire bill, after we release the money, then once the Florida prepaid money is then released, any student that has their bill paid in full will receive a refund of the amount that was dedicated from Florida prepaid. So if you want more information on that, if you just go out to Google, I'll make it easy for you and just Google USF Florida prepaid. It will bring up the page where the Student Financial Services Office has that information housed. And there's also a video about 2 minutes or so that they put together that explains all of that and how it works.
Perfect. Thank you, Damien. And that also answers my next question about when students will see if their Florida Prepaid or Bright Futures is connected or applied. So you said that is on the 7th day after classes begin, or the 5th day. So that's August 29th. Is that correct?
Correct. So August 29th is when all of the financial aid, excluding the Florida Prepaid, will be applied to the student's bill. One thing I did not mention is at the end of the month, at the beginning of next month, once the Student Financial Services Office has assessed the tuition and fees for the fall semester, if you were to log into Oasis and review your financial aid information, we will do a little calculation there to give you a head start, sneak peek at what your bill is going to look like and how your financial aid is going to apply to it, so that you won't have to do any guessing. We'll put all of that together for you, and you will be able to view it, and you can share that information with your family as well.
That's a great resource. Thank you for sharing that. And if a student is being awarded from another organization, can they use that fund toward USF? And how do they know if USF has received that check?
Yes, absolutely. So typically funds that are coming from another organization on the student's behalf can be two things. The first, it can be in the form of additional scholarships. So any type of private scholarship organization that is sending those funds to the university, that can be used against any other bill that the student has at the university. So a couple things that would have to happen for this to occur is those scholarship checks or checks would need to be sent to USF, and typically these have the name of the student and USF in it. So in and of itself, that means as a student you can't take that check to your bank and cash it because it has the university's name on it. So it has to be sent to USF. And we'll provide this information to you, but if you have a check that you need to send to the university, you can send it to P.O. Box 864571. Once again, it's P.O. Box 864571 in Orlando at the zip code 32886. That is the university's official lockbox that all of our checks go to, and then they are processed by Student Financial Services. Okay, so it's very secure, and that's where we will ask all of our students to send those. And when you do that, just make sure that your name and USF ID number are somewhere either on the check itself or to the letter that will be attached to the check so that it can be applied to your financial aid accordingly.
Great. And Damien, those specific instructions, I'm assuming, are listed on your website?
Yes, they are.
Great.
And then the second question, follow up to your question, how do we know if USF has received the check? That is probably even more important because at this time of year, as students are starting to go to college for the first time, the university is receiving lots of checks. So obviously, those have to all be processed manually, and it takes quite a bit of time to get that done when they're coming in by the hundreds each day. So what we recommend for you to do is to just keep track of that inside of Oasis. Once those checks are received, then we will put them in Oasis so that you can see them as a part of your aid offer. If you do not see it there, then one thing that you can do is to kind of backtrack with your donating organization and make sure that they did send it to the university and get an estimated time on when they did that, because that would help us troubleshoot to see where that check is.
Great. And for when students do receive their refund, will students be responsible for paying the taxes on that refund?
So typically, when students receive refunds that are due to financial aid, there are no tax liabilities as a responsibility to the student because those funds are for educational purposes. The only times that may come into play is later on in the student's academic career. If they are, say, for instance, a graduate student and they're working in a job on campus that they're using to help pay their tuition, that's when taxes can be a factor. But for refunds that students are receiving, no, there is not a responsibility on the student's behalf.
Thank you. And in Oasis, what are the different kinds of loans that a student can accept?
Yeah, so inside of Oasis, when the student receives their financial aid award offer, that is based on the FAFSA, so they will receive an offer for either a subsidized direct loan or an unsubsidized direct loan or both. Those are the two types of loans that students can accept in Oasis. And if they are accepting those loans and they are first-time borrowers, so never borrowed a student loan before, there are additional steps that also have to be completed, which would be listed in Oasis as well. And those two additional steps in the process are the entrance counseling requirement and the master promissory note. Both of those have to be completed after accepting the loans within the federal government system. So on studentaid.gov is where that information is found. And in either one of those cases, either accepting the loans or completing the promissory note or entrance counseling, if the student doesn't remember or misses a step, then we will notify the student by way of an email to the USF email, letting them know what needs to be done.
Got it. And what happens to a student's tuition payment if they withdraw from a class?
Yeah, so if a student withdraws from a class, this will have implications. So it's just a matter of the timing on when that has occurred. During the first week of classes, students can, which what we call the drop add period, students can add and drop classes as they see fit with no penalty financially because the bill isn't due until at the end of the first week of classes. Once the first week of classes is over, then the student becomes liable for the tuition that is assigned to that particular course. So if a student withdraws from a class after the first week of classes and they have financial aid, then financial aid also has terms and conditions that are attached to them, which students have to read and agree to inside of Oasis before receiving payments. And if the class is dropped or withdrawn from during that time period at any time after the first week, then that could have some implications on the types of financial aid that students will be able to receive going forward. So it has both short-term and long-term consequences that students would have to be acutely aware of before making that decision. And so, what we always encourage students to do before they actually make that decision is to meet with their academic advisor to see how it's going to affect them academically, and then meet with a financial aid advisor to find out the actual impact on financial aid programs.
That's great advice. That is a big decision, like you said, with a lot of different implications. So meeting with both of those teams is definitely important.
Yes, and one thing I'll add here is that for our students that are Bright Futures recipients, because this is very important, is that if you are a Bright Futures recipient and you withdraw from a class, you do have to repay that money back to the university. If you do not repay that money back to the university, then for the next school year, you would not be able to renew your Bright Future scholarship. So that's another reason to proceed cautiously and make sure that you are aware of what those consequences and implications are.
Definitely something to consider. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Damien, I just have one last question for you tonight before we wrap up, is how can a student or family member get in contact with someone from your office with any more questions that they might have?
Yeah, so the best way is what we'll have all this information on our contact us page on our website, but the best way is to actually use the ServiceNow portal to securely email your financial aid advisor. And I always recommend that to students and families for a couple reasons. The most important one is that obviously with an email, that is a written documentation that you can refer to at any point in time, which is always going to be better than relying on your memory if you've actually contact us by phone or coming in person, unless you're a great note taker. So that is the best way that we recommend for students and families to reach us, and actually, students, because that the ServiceNow portal is secured behind the student's Net ID and password. So outside of that, of course, if you're physically in the space or on campus, you can come by our office and visit us Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or call us on the phone Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and we'll be able to answer your questions. But one thing that I will kind of add here, especially for the phones, is as we're getting closer to the start of a semester, then our call volume does start to get a lot heavier and our calls take longer. So that means that the wait time becomes longer. So always the best thing to do is to get as much of your financial aid taken care of beforehand. So use Oasis to the fullest because it's going to have everything that we're looking at. Only it's delivered in Oasis in a much friendlier format than we're looking at on our computers when we're talking with you.
Absolutely. So knowing the information ahead of time, even before getting on a phone call to ask these questions, is going to be super helpful too with wait times and such. So Damien, I just wanted to get one clarification item from you related to family members that might want to speak to a representative from the financial aid office. So if somebody is calling on behalf of the student, it sounds like they will need to be with the student so that they can gather that information. If they want to call together, that's fine. But do you speak one-on-one to any family members without the student present?
Yes, we will, as long as we have the privacy release for the financial aid office has been completed and we can access that. So when students are sent their financial aid award offers, we do put that information in the offer itself, and we also provide that information to the parents that's listed on the FAFSA in a separate communication so that they are aware. Because if they call our office and we don't have that document on our file, then we will post it in Oasis for the student, and we will let them know that that has to be completed. And then they would have to call us back if they were talking to us on the phone. If the student and the family member are together, we will still have to authenticate that other individual. once we are aware of their presence before we start sharing any information, due to the specific private nature of it. So we have to be extremely careful. And so we really want we want to be able to help the families get the information they need, but due to those federal privacy laws, we have to be extremely careful in what we're saying. Because obviously on a phone, we can't see who that other person is on the line. And we have to go through all of those authentication procedures just to make sure that we're not talking to someone that we should not be talking to and releasing that sensitive information.
Absolutely, and we appreciate all the steps that your team does go through to ensure that that information is kept safe. And Damien, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to speak with us this evening and answer all of our questions.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure, as usual.
All right, well, thank you again and have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you again to Damien for all of that valuable information. If you have more questions about living on campus at USF, you can email us at housing@usf.edu or call us at 813-974-00001. Be sure to join us for our next episode on Wednesday, July 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we'll be talking all about services provided to residents at USF. You can watch on our Facebook or YouTube page, the USF Class of 2025 Facebook group, or the USF Parent and Family Engagement Facebook page. USF Housing Live is produced by Housing and Residential Education at the University of South Florida in Tampa. Our motto is best place to live, best place to work, and best place to learn. Thank you to tonight's guests for joining me this evening. Thank you to our production crew, to you, our viewers, and of course, there's always just one last thing. Go Bulls! Good night, everyone.